Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it? You already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye, bye. Let's get straight to this intro. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that I stay kicking. And I appreciate the support. I'm very humbled by it. So are you guys ready for the new episode? Baboso of the week. World's dumbest criminal of the week, right? In this case, this guy wasn't necessarily a criminal, but what he did was criminal, right? Because it resulted in him with a lifetime of unlifetime, right? And then you just don't do that. So I went ahead and I've looked into the archives and I've looked into different stories. And one of the biggest babosos of the week, and you know what? Hey, respect to the family. I know they mourned him, but one of the biggest idiotic moves that I've ever come across was this guy, El Pirata de Culiacan, right? Who was allegedly unalived for disrespecting a member of a Mexican cartel. Now, I told you guys a long time ago that I do not like to speak on cartel business. Why? I'll explain to you. Chainsaws and spines to me equal pain, right? And those are some things that I just can't deal with. I've had nightmares about my head, right? No, when I think about head and shoulders, it's a shampoo, not literally my head getting decapitated from my shoulders. So, when it comes to speaking on cartels, I think it's one of the most idiotic moves any person can do who's a podcaster, a content creator, or on social media. You see time and time and time again, guys get brave, they want clout, they want views, and they know that if they disrespect these groups or certain leaders of these groups, people with status within these cartels, right, that they're going to gain some type of notoriety or people are going to clap, or you need a fucking hug. You have to be straight up brain dead or out of your mind to disrespect these individuals because they do not take disrespect lightly. Let me explain something to you guys. This is where I first had my first interaction with any type of cartel, and I realized and I understood and I knew from that point on, these guys hit different, right? These guys are they're not playing no games. They're not here to just take you out if you disrespect them. They'll take out your whole bloodline, okay? They do not play. I've had other interactions with guys, but I wasn't aware or sure that they were actual cartel members until I went to Juarez, Mexico. And upon my arrival from Juarez, Mexico, that's when I realized you're not a big boy no more. Just because you're a norteño and a gang member and you're from a barrio and you've been to prison, none of that means shit to these guys. You are a piece of carne asada, straight barbacoa, right? Carnitas. You are a taco. You're nothing to them and what they got going on. You involve yourself in their business, they're going to make sure your whole bloodline has no business ever or can conduct business. That's just how they get down. And I remember the way these guys carried themselves, the way that they were functioning, okay? It was different. There was this big house, and we were walking up, me and my homeboy were walking up to the store to go get some fravos, some cigarettes, and a few other things. And I was just flabbergasted on how big this home was, right? It was, you think you've seen a mansion, Hollywood and Beverly Hills, and that ain't shit. This was a big old pad, right there in Anapra. And we're walking up this hill, and I'm looking, and it just keeps going on and on, Escalade after Ford truck, after Chevy, just the nicest, newest trucks out, right? And as we're walking, I'm looking, and there's workers. They're called workers. They're on the side, just all on the side of the road. And we're trying to cross the street because the store's on that side, and they're telling us, fuck no, go over there or else, right? They're not hiding nothing. They got full automatic. Like, I was like, damn, bro, we're in Mexico, right? Like, for real. And I remember thinking to myself, wow. Now, prior to that walk, early that morning, as soon as we had got there to my grandfather's pad, a fucking truck pulls up, a red truck. And I remember these guys getting out, straight big old bellies, hairy chests, hella gold chains. And they're like, hey, what are you guys here for? To visit, right? They're like, you guys ain't here to rob no one or steal or not. Nah, hell nah. Fuck no, right? And we're on the run. We gave them the whole rundown. We're on the run from California, you know what I mean? This, and that. And they're like, hey, you guys got fucking a couple weeks to be here. And if not, we're gonna kill you. Basically, just straight up, they said it like if they're asking the weather. Okay, they don't play. I knew right then and there, like, hey, while I was there for about 2.5 weeks, I overstood my visit. While I was there in Mexico, I seen things that would make you say, right? So I just knew cartels meant business. So now you have the Baboso of the week, El Pirata de Culiacan, who was a content creator whose whole shtick was drinking till he couldn't drink no more and acting out. And he blew up. He blew up. He was one of the only Mexicanos that I've ever seen that like just really, really blew up out there in Mexico, had a big following. People liked the fact his look. He was a little short, ugly fella. He would just go into places, drink, be disrespectful, clown, and all that. But one day he decided to disrespect a very well-known figure in a cartel, right? For whatever reason, I don't know if it was an act, if he was just trying to portray that he's hella down and cool. He did that. Now, we all know there's certain people in this world you just should not disrespect. Could you? You can just do whatever you want. That's freedom, but that's your own thing. But should you is the number one question, right? And this dude decided to disrespect a figure known as El Mencho. Now, okay, El Mencho recently has passed. And if you don't know who he is, you can look his story up. I'm not here to give you the whole rundown because I'm not too sure about every detail of his life. What I do know is he's not one to be spoken on and definitely not one to be disrespected whatsoever, right? And so this guy decided one night to drink, El Baboso right here, right? El Pirata, decided to drink too much alcohol and he got that liquid courage and he decided to disrespect El Mencho. Something he should have never done, right? And in doing so, what happened? What happened that was within 48 hours of this disrespect that was on the internet. And once things go on the internet, you can't take them off. You could delete the video. You could take it down. You always see people, he's a sucker, man. He took the video down. It's in the cloud somewhere. Someone screen recorded it. Someone's seen that shit. And word travels fast, especially on social media, right? So this video was posted and everybody was reposting it. And damn, and there was people that know what's up were like, damn, pobrecito, it's a wrap, right? And people that don't were cheering him on. Yeah, that's right. He's down. He's down. Well, how down is he? He's face down because within 48 hours, he was hit. He was eliminated. He was unalived. Now, a lot of people like to place blame on El Mencho and the cartel. I don't know who did it. No one knows. Those people were never apprehended. He just was gone. That's it. See you later. He was gunned down. And whether it was because of that exact situation or it wasn't, someone didn't like what he was doing. Period. Right? It wasn't the wrong place at the wrong time. It wasn't he was fucking some undercover fucking spy or what's in that? He wasn't one of them guys. He was just an idiot with a drinking problem who got online and got liquid courage and got too brave, and someone felt the way they felt about it. And he was disrespecting the wrong people. Now, he's not the only one. He's the Baboso of this week, but there's several other people. And that's why I get asked all the time, hey, Gun, why don't you do videos on the cartel? This is relevant. And I've done a few here and there. I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not going to lie and say I haven't done a few. But for the most part, I try to stay away from that business because them guys, you cannot dictate the program. And what you put out your mouth and what you say might not be meant to be disrespectful. They might take it that way, though. And these guys are not playing, man. They don't have the same rules that a criminal in California or in Florida or in Atlanta or in New York or Texas has, right? They don't play by rules. Men, women, children, all that shit. None of that matters. If you disrespect one of them, anyone that you're around can get it. It's very, very treacherous. It's a treacherous situation, right? And so as long as you don't involve yourself in their business, what they got going on, keep your fucking mouth shut and stay away from disrespect of these guys, then you're going to be fine. See, I don't understand why people want to tell stories about them and disrespect them after they see time and time again on numerous occasions what has happened to these people. There's been plenty of situations where dudes that are on the internet that just don't know better, right? That have never been to Mexico, that take it lightly, that take gangs, that take organizations, that take groups lightly, say stupid shit. And they don't last very long. Usually, when it's a cartel, I give you out the 48 hours, maybe. These guys are everywhere. Okay, these guys got loyalists and people dedicated to them everywhere. And so you don't last too long speaking on their shit. El Pirata didn't last, I think maybe it was 24 hours. Gone, right? No apologies accepted. Same thing happens over here in the United States. It just doesn't happen as fast. It moves a little bit slower, but it could. It could, right? You know, I seen when El Mencho passed, I did a video on it. And everybody in the world was doing videos, and it was just, wow, you know, he was a very well-known figure in the underworld, in a very big cartel, and he was considered a leadership, right? In leadership or the leader. Just very well known. And I did it as respectful as I could, just put out the facts as I knew them. And that was it, and kept it pushing, right? But there was literally dudes, black, white, brown, dudes that even don't have nothing to do with being Mexican at all, that were literally testing the hand of fate, doing videos, disrespecting Mencho and his death, just because they seen other people speaking highly of him, or other people, you know, speaking about the type of character he was or what he was involved in within their spill. These guys were like, you know, they always got a clown, they got a troll, they got to hate, they got to make fun of. Let me tell you, one after another, pretty much almost every one of those dudes that did that within 24 hours was out of here, gone. True stories, right? That's what I'm saying. That's why I've chosen to always be respectful with who I'm talking about. Now, look, don't get it twisted. There's videos of one-on-one confrontations or situations where me and the guy go back and forth, but none of it is meant to be deadly. I'm not spitting venom to poison him, right? I'm just biting him a little bit. A little bite, little nip and tuck. Wake up, right? But when people choose to go out of their way to disrespect cartel members, it doesn't end well for them. It never has. And that's why I've chosen with my channel to stay away from it. You know, I think in this world, we already know what they're capable of, what they're willing to do, and what their business is. And it makes no sense to go on social media and tempt the hands of fate, because fate is not in your favor when you deal with these type of guys. You know, El Pirata, I'm sure, wished that he didn't make that same mistake. You know, there was a content creator a while back, if you guys remember, Savage Studios, who, and I'm not saying that this group was directly involved with what ultimately happened to him, but he got drunk one night. He was drinking, and he ultimately made a bad decision and disrespected people he shouldn't have. Okay. And a couple years later, he was unalived. And a lot of people like to point fingers on who was directly involved and why. And I don't know. I've never said, because I don't know. I mean, we know the guy who unalived him is locked up doing life. We know all that, okay? But the reasoning behind that, I could only say, is that man felt disrespected personally, or he had his own reasons. I'm not going to say he did it at the direction of another group at all. But there was a lot of people spreading them rumors and assuming. And the only thing I could say is, for that rumor even to surface, meant that that dude disrespected people, and they weren't happy about it. So that's why I say, don't do that. Don't disrespect these organizations, these groups, cartels, anybody. You know, if you know they have a history of violence, you know they have a history of dealing swiftly with those that disrespect them, if they feel it is. You know, why would an idiot continue to be a Baboso of the week? Why would you do that? Okay, I've told this story before. I'm gonna tell it one more again. True fucking facts here. I was in Juarez in Mexico. When we pulled up, me and the homie, his brother and his primo were already there on the run. Okay? Now, they had been there about a year already. He didn't even know where they were at. Only I did. Okay? Because we're not going to go there. but I knew they were there. So when we get there, by the time we get to Juarez and we cross over the frontera, the border from El Paso to fucking Juarez, it was about 3 in the morning. And when we get there, the homie's brother's right there. He's on a couch. He's watching some old Mac Dre videos. True shit, right? 3 in the morning. And my boy walks in. He's all happy to see his brother. Hey, where's our primo at? Oh, he's fucking with some chick or whatever he was doing, right? And we're all happy, hugs, handshakes, and fucking me mugs all the way around. And I tell you guys, the next morning, that's when them dudes pulled up in the red truck and gave us the whole rundown. Now, they were already used to my homeboy and his primo, right? They were already used to them. They had already given them the rundown. And the reason why they were able to stick around for a little bit longer was because my homie at the time started to date a chick, right? Now, this chick didn't live in Mexico. Well, she lived half and half. She was a dual citizen. She was going to school in Texas, right? In El Paso at the university. Her father was somebody heavy in the cartel, right? So he's the one that had the big giant house. That was his pet, right? So she would come over on the weekends and chill. And I don't know how she met the homie, but that was her boyfriend. And so with that being said, man, it was cool for us. Everywhere we went, it was love. It was this, it was that, it was this and that, right? And I remember the homeboy, you got to understand, we're all from California. So player shit, right? Just homies are used to treating women the way they treat them and just move from one to the next and whatever, right? But me and his brother were telling him like, hey, bro, you got to treat this one right. She has the ability to give us disabilities, right? So be real. We used to go to clubs and get plugged in, hella love. We didn't pay for no drinks. We didn't pay for nothing. Hey, if she was there with us, it was all, hey, it's on me, right? It was all on them. But the moment she would leave, it was all on us, right? So this dude's over here dancing with the other chicks, like making her jealous and cry and shit. I'm like, damn, bro, you're gonna put us in a bad situation. Anyways, ultimately that didn't happen. But what did happen is twice I got to see the power of the cartel with my own eyes, right? The first time was we were cruising. She had a little, I think it was a gold Altima, Nissan Altima, probably like a 2007, 2008 Altima, whatever it was, right? And in Mexico, that's clean, right? And we're cruising. Cops hit us. It's a bike cop. He's on a bike, right? First thing he asks when he sees her, she sees him, she pulls over, right? She immediately jumps on the phone to call one of her tios, one of her uncles, right? The cop pulls up. He's like, armas, drogas. And she's just talking to her uncle. And he's like, hey, get off the phone. The cop tells her, get off the phone. I'm talking to you. And she's like, shut the fuck up, right? And I'm just like, this chick is going to get us hemmed up, right? I got warrants. I'm thinking we're through. I'm thinking we're going to prison. And that's the whole reason we went to Mexico on the run. We had warrants, me and the homie. And the other two homies, they had warrants. They were wanted for attempted murder. So it was just all bad, right? So anyways, she's talking to the cop like, yeah, whatever, right? So he's like, get off the fucking phone. She's like, what, motherfucker? Here. And she hands the phone to him. He didn't want to take it. Nah, because he's a cop, right? Fuck you. He got on that phone and I visibly seen him shaking and tears pouring down his eye. Not coming down slow, but pouring. And he's begging, no, please, no, sir. I didn't know. Hands the phone back to her and says, you guys are good. You guys will not be pulled over the rest of your life here in Mexico. See you later, right? That motherfucker couldn't even ride the bike. That motherfucker was like me on that one shirt when I couldn't ride the bike. He was like that. He was deboing it, right? He got out of there quick. He left before we did. That motherfucker was already 3 blocks away. We were just starting the car up. He got on, right? I said, damn, girl, what happened? She said, oh, he talked to my tío. And he let him know that if he kept fucking with us, then his whole bloodline would be gone. I said, oh, shit, right? Now, I had heard from the homie that her dad and her tíos and everybody were some buddies, but that's the day I realized. So about a week and a half after that, right? It was right before we left. This was the catalyst to me saying, we got to go, homie. We're right there, and we're at my grandfather's pad. We're chilling, and the phone rings. And I answer, and it's her, right? And she's like, hey, she's with her prima. She had been bringing her prima around. Her prima was a little heavy. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to her dad, but her prima was a little heavy, so nobody was interested. We were a little disinterested. Not that big women ain't beautiful, but this one wasn't too much. And so she's with her prima, and they're in Centro. Centro is like downtown. There's a lot of open malls. There's a lot of stores, barbershops, food. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just where it's cracking. We used to ride the Ruta, the little bus downtown, and that's just the spot. It's like, it's cool, right? You can get anything you want. And so she's down there. So she calls. I happen to answer the phone. She's like, hey, where's Face? Which was her old man, which was my homeboy at the time. Well, he's my homeboy, but it was her old man, right? I saw he's not right here. I forgot where he was at. If he was sleeping, he was working, he was doing something. He's not here. And she was like, damn, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to him. And I was like, yeah, well, he don't have a cell phone or none. Because in Mexico, we were getting those little prepaids and he just didn't have it. And she was like, well, can you do me a favor? Me and the other homie, right? What's up? She said, can you guys come down here? Remember that dude that was hanging out? There was a dude that was hanging around with us, right? And I don't know where he came from. He just started fucking hanging around with us. And I remember he had Sur gang. He had Sur tattooed on his neck, but he wasn't a South Side. He was like a Fight Side that just got it because he seen it in the Loretta magazine or something. But she was like, hey, this fool's following me and my cousin around. And I said, he probably just recognized you or noticed you. She was like, nah, in Mexico, that's not real. That's not right. You can't be following us around. Like he might be trying to do the kidnap thing or something. And I was like, oh. So she was like, can you guys come quick? Where are you guys at? I told her, we're at the ice cream shop. All right, cool. Shit, I like Rocky Road. So me and my boy, we slid over there on the bus and shit, paid 10 cents. We're riding the ruta. They're trying to put candies in our laps. And we're like, don't touch them in Mexico. If they put candy in your lap, just let it be there till they grab it. You might even get grazed. Don't touch it because if you touch it, you buy it, right? So boom, we get off. By the time they got a big old ice cream cone, right? They're not even tripping. They're laughing. I'm thinking, damn, man, I hope she ain't trying to fucking play the homeboy and just get us down here because she wants chorra. Because if that's the case, I don't want nothing to do with that. And I was like, hey, what's up? We're ready to get off or check the homie. And they're like, she's like, oh, no, he's done. He's dealt with. I said, what the fuck you mean he's done? He's dealt with. She was like, no, I already took care of it. My uncle took care of it. He's good. He ain't going to be bothering us no more. I'm thinking, okay, he got checked, whatever. Not tripping, right? We're eating ice cream, we're chilling, we're walking around Central. We get a hold of the homeboy. Finally, he goes home to my grandfather's. We call him like, hey, fool, meet us down here. He's coming, and everything's good. And he asked her what happened when he gets there, and she was like, oh, that fool's fucking me, but I got a hold of my Theo, and he's gone. The homie already knew what time it was. He's like, damn. So he runs us down. Like when she says he's gone, fool, he's gone. Whatever. Well, there's this newspaper in Juarez, and it's like shows you everything that happened the night before, all the violence, everything. That fool was on the front page of the newspaper, like, yeah. I said, we're going home. I don't care about going to prison. Literally, I went home a week later. I was on my way to prison. I don't care. I'm willing to go to prison. I'm not staying around here. So I say that to say this. Don't mess with the cartel. Stop disrespecting these guys. Stop doing videos thinking that and they're not going to do nothing because they will and they have and they shall, right? And that's all I got to say about that. Anyways, El Pirata de Culiacan, he learned the hard way. He's one of the most noticeable faces when it comes to someone who having done that. But there's body after body, like people who have done that, newscasters that disrespect, politicians, just regular content creators. There's this one white dude, man, when El Mencho passed, he wanted to go online and just clown. 24 hours later, they had a video of him up. Facts. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. Now, you tell me this in the comments. Would you ever do it? I know I won't disrespect them, right? This video is sponsored by Barrio Liquors in Turlock, California. If you're ever in the Turlock area, pull up to the Barrio and get you something cold to drink. Also by Sticks and Stones Yard Service in Tucson, Arizona. If you're ever in Tucson or if you just moved there and need an estimate on some yard work, hit up Sticks and Stones Yard Service. He got you. It's the gun. Bang, bang.